Okay. Now, first thing is we'll just see like how do we do this particular summing. Okay. So we have this particular general sum. So we generally does the summing of the range of data. So when I'm doing this particular sum, so we can also do this particular sum based on the certain criteria, based on a particular
Okay.
condition. Also, we can do this particular kind of a sum. So we'll just see like
Okay.
how do we do this particular sum based on a specific conditions. That is what we will look in this today's sessions. Okay. So thing is yes. Now in this what happens is see one thing is where you know how to define a name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
it
I
was
have
been done.
checked that
Yeah.
in the
See
previous.
something like you know I want to do the sum of this particular net salary or average of this particular salary and all these things. So every time you need to keep defining this particular name. So what I do is I can just select this particular data and I can just go to the name box and you can define the name. I say this is your net salary. So when I just give the name, so now next time what happens when I'm writing the formula, I don't have to keep doing the selection. I can just call with the name. Okay, and I can get this
Okay.
result in, I can just get this in any sheet. So I want to do the sum of those particular net salary. I can just say is equal to sum of say net sal. Okay, so when I say sum of net sal, it will find the what is the total sum of net sal, or I want to know what is the average of say net sal. So this is going to get me what is the average net salary. Okay, so we can do all
So,
this
but
particular operation. Yeah.
I have a doubt.
Yes.
आपने पहले वाले शीट में सारी इंफॉर्मेशन थी, आप दूसरे शीट में जाके भी हम लोग कैलकुलेशन कर सकते हैं.
कर सकते हैं. So generally अगर आपने नाम नहीं दिया so you need to do like this. I just say is equal to sum and then you click on that respective sheet, select the data like this and then press enter key and you can see the formula it is generated is like this. Sum of
Got it.
sheet 1 H2 to H21. So that means sheet 1 से H2 to H21 में जितना भी data है it is trying to do the sum of this particular data.
Got it.
Okay, and thanks. So now every time going to that particular sheet, selecting that range and all these things. So when I have this particular names, I can just write that particular names. It eases the job. Okay, that is the beauty of that. So now, so we know how do we calculate this particular sum. So I want to calculate the sum of this. So we just write this particular simple formula. I just say is equal to sum of given range. Okay, so it will just do. So even like I selected the range, so automatically the name has been, since the name is already defined, it is taking the name. Fine.
Okay.
Okay, now we have something called as sum if. Okay, we saw with the sum, so sum was doing addition of all the values. So we do also have something called as a sum if. So when I talk about a sum if, as the name only says, I want to do the summing based on a certain given condition. Okay, you want to do the summing based on a condition. We use this sum if. So how do we use this particular sum if? Now we have this particular data here, the salary data and thing. Now what I want is I want to find the total of salaries of only those employees who earn more than 10,000. Okay, I want to see only the sum of those salaries, people who earn more than 10,000. Only those people's salaries I want to sum it up.
So we have to put a condition.
So I want to put a condition. So it has to, in this, it has to pick only those values which is more than 10,000 and then it has to do the sum. So in that case, so we have this function here called as is equal to sum if. So you can see here sum if. So the function itself is say sum if. So that means I want to find the sum based on a condition. Now this particular sum if, it takes this three parameters here. The sum if takes three parameters. One is the range. The range is the range of data on which you want to do the sum.
Okay.
Okay, range of data on which you want to do the criteria actually. Then the actual criteria, the condition, and the summing range, the data which on which you want to do the summing. Okay, now and you can see when you see any parameter which is in the square bracket, I said those are optional parameter. It is not mandatory. So now there might be a situation where the criteria range and the summing range might be same. If it is same, you don't have to provide the summing range. Fine. So now if
I
I
didn't
have
get
to,
that.
it is something like this. Say example, I want to do the summing of this particular net salary. Okay. So I'll just say range of
Mhm.
for me is this net salary. Okay. So and
Mm.
then what is the criteria? So I've just told is equal to the range is my net salary criteria. So criteria has to be given in the double quotes. What is the criteria? I say greater than or equal to 10,000.
10,000.
Okay.
Mm.
So that means it is going to sum up only those values whose value is more than 10,000. Fine. Now,
Mm.
comma, the third parameter is the summing range. On which data you're going to do the summing. I want to do the summing on the same data, net salary. I want to do the summing on the same data, that is the net salary. I close this,
Mm.
I press enter. So now what happens? It is doing the summing on this particular range of data. Fine.
10,000.
So now you can see here the, the actual range on which you want to apply the criteria and the summing range, both are same. When both are same, so this can also be skipped off. When you do the
Okay.
skipping, still it will show me the same value. So that means if you don't provide the summing range, the criteria range itself is going to take as a summing range also.
Mm. Got it.
Correct? Okay, fine. Okay, that is how it is. This particular thing, what is happening. But say example, I want to do the summing based on the gender. I want to know what is the salary given to the male employees, what is the salary given to the female employees. Fine. So in that
Mm.
case, what I do, I can just define the name for this. I just select this data. I just define a name. Say gender. Let's press enter. So now I want to find the salary given to the male employees. So what I will do, I'll just say is equal to sum if. Okay. First range is the range on which you want to apply the criteria. So I want to apply on gender. So that means this range of data. Okay. Comma. What is the criteria? I'm looking for male. Okay. Then
Mm.
summing range. Summing range is I want to find the net salary of particular male
Mm.
employees. I'll just use a
Next one.
so that means so my what happens the criteria range is this. Okay, in this range of data I'm looking for the
Mm.
only for the male employees and I'm
Male
trying to
employee.
take some of only the net salaries.
Mm.
Plus
Net
entity.
salary.
So that means this was the total salary. This is the salary of only the male employees.
Mm.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So like this. So now instead of writing this male here, so which is actually a static value. So now I want to know what is the salary for the female employees. I need to go into the formulas and then I need to say it is FEMALE. So now it says, oh, this is the salary of the female employees. Okay. Now what I want is I just want to have a kind of a drop down here. I say select a gender. Okay.
Means when we select a gender of a male, it will show the male details. If we
Yeah.
select the female, female details.
It has to show the female details. So that is what I wanted. So what I will do is I'll just select here. Okay, so you want to join for that. So what I will do is I'll just say try to create a drop down. Okay, validation period.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, what I'll do, I'll just go for the data. I'll just go to the data validation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In the data validation, instead of any value, I'll just say it as a list. Okay. In the list, I'll just say I'm looking for say male. At least I want to have the drop down male and FEMALE. So what this will do is on this particular cell, we have applied a data validation telling that it has to show me a list of this particular values, male or female. Okay, with the comma separated. So now you can see we get this male, we get this particular female out. Okay, now based on this, it has to generate. So what I do, I just say is equal to sumif. Okay, select the range. Okay, the range is what gender. Okay, then the actual criteria. So look from this particular cell. Instead of giving a fixed
Female.
value, looking for this cell, comma.
Okay.
What is the summing range? I say it is the net salary.
But sir, how it's 126 came? 126 females are there or what?
One. No,
Uh,
J26.
this one. Okay, J26.
J26 is the cell name,
Okay.
address of the cell.
And I have one more questions. Can you just help me with this select gender?
So getting this kind of a list.
Once again, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll just remove this. इसको निकालने के लिए I'll just remove
Delete
this.
करके option था ना वहाँ पे delete.
I can remove this data validation and say clear out. See, by default, what happens? It allows you to enter anything. If I don't want anything to be entered, I want you to enter only male or female. Fine.
Okay.
So in that case, what I will do is, okay, I need to create a validation. So that should have a list of values. Okay. For doing that, I just select the cell on which I want to apply a validation. And then I will go to the data tab. In the data tab, I'll just go to the data validation. Okay. In the data validation, I'll just select this. Okay. And here by default, it says any value. Now, instead of any value, I'll define a list. List is, it will have a list of values. So in the list, I'll just select what is that list of values. I say, and one should be male, and say, okay, I want the male and female as a list of values. I select, I just say, okay. So you can see here, we have a male, so we do have, okay. So when I got it.
Oh, actually, I was not able to hear you और कुछ भी दिखाई नहीं दे रहा था.
मिशन पे नहीं
कोई
दिखाई
बात
दे
नहीं,
रहा
बट नहीं स्क्रीन पे नहीं, वो अटक गया था सब कुछ. बट मैं समझ गई, वो डेटा वैलिडेशंस पे जाके वहाँ पे ऑप्शंस देखने हैं.
हाँ. So that means like under data validation, yeah, options. So two things. In the allow, I'm changing to list, and here in the source, I'm selecting as male and female.
Male and female. और whatever you want to give, मतलब अगर बहुत लंबा चौड़ा भी लिस्ट है तो भी हम दे सकते हैं.
With the comma separator.
4-5 चीजें.
हाँ, comma separate देना उसमें.
Okay.
So something like, you know, I want to have a list of genders, grid A, B, C. So what I do, I just select here. I'll just say data validation. I say list, and then I say I want this to be as A, B, C. I just say okay. So I get a list here telling us A, B, C.
Sir, but there is one question. जब आपने वो data validation list select किया, there was a lots of options, right?
Under the validations,
so,
is it?
Under the validation.
I'll take a separate session on data validation.
Okay.
So we'll go into detail, separate session on data validation.
Okay.
So now I've just done this. Now what I want is, see, you can see if I select female, it says the total salary of female employees. When I select this male, it shows the total salary of the male employees. So this is what happens, you know, before, like, you know, I need to change, I need to go there and change. So now what is happening, it is dynamically. Okay. So if I select, it says female ka this one. If I select male, it says, okay, this is the total salary for the male employees. Now I want to apply based on multiple criteria. Multiple criteria is, see, male employees with grade B, what is the total salary expenses? Based on these two criteria, I want to fetch. Based on two conditions. In that case, what I do is, I just say is equal to sum. So you can see here, we have different types of sum. So we have something called sum if, and sum ifs. So since it is more than one condition, I'll go with the sum ifs. Okay. I just say IFS. Fine. Now, in the sum ifs, the parameter sequence is little different here. So in the case of sum if, the summing range was the last parameter. Here, first I will define on which data you're going to do the summing. So I want to do on the net salary. Then you can see there is a criteria range, criteria, comma. There will be a second criteria range, criteria range, criteria. So we'll be giving the range, criteria range, and criteria as pairs. Okay. So example. So I want.
So is it a n number, like your whatever number, or there is limitations? कि इतना ही डाल सकते हैं या फिर कितना भी डाल सकते हैं?
Yeah. So the limitation I've seen is 128 pairs. 128 pairs of conditions. Okay, see, like it's like net salary. So my criteria is I'm looking for a gender, so matching to this. Sorry, gender matching to this. So that means I got the male employee salary. Now under that male employee, I want to see for grade. I have not selected the grade, no. So I have not defined the name, so I'll just select it. So grade matching to A or matching to this one. Fine. I just enter. So that means it is doing the sum of based on two conditions. So looking for the male employees with grade B. So now what is happening? This is one condition. This is another condition. Like this, 128 conditions can be given. Condition is given as a pair, key value pair. Hello.
हाँ.
मतलब क्या हो रहा है ना? So it is like this. This is one criteria. So we have a criteria range criteria. So this is second criteria range criteria. So this is one criteria. This is one criteria.
मुझे ये
Like this,
डाउट
we
है
can
ना
have
कि
128 criteria. Yeah. Tell me.
या मुझे वो जानना था कि क्राइटेरिया रेंज जो है नंबर 1, नंबर 2, नंबर 3 वो n नंबर तक है और देयर इज अ लिमिटेशन कि हम लोग 4 कंडीशन लगा सकते हैं या 5 कंडीशन लगा
वही बोल
सकते
रहा हूँ 128 conditions 128
so at once
128
conditions लगा सकते हैं.
Yeah, 127 or something. Yeah, it's a big numbers.
Okay.
It's maximum 4, 5, 10. Okay, but यहाँ पे around 100 plus. But it's totally 255 parameters. So I think it's 127 conditions which are. So very big numbers. Okay. Sure. Okay. So like this, under that, I'm looking for a job. I can specify a job. Then I say job matching to that say trainer. So that means male employees with B grade. I'm working as a trainer. What is that? This one. So I can just say. So I'm looking for the job. So job.
सर आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
Job matching to what is it? As a trainer. अभी आ रही है ना? Fine. So it is looking based on the 3 criteria. Gender should be matching to this. Gender should be matching to this, and what is it? Grade should be matching to B, and the job should be matching to a trainer. So, are I? आ रहा है ना? Okay. So this is like, how do we give it based on the multiple criteria, multiple conditions? So how do we do this? The next thing is the same way we can do also something called as the average. Okay, this is what we saw about sum if, and we saw with the sum ifs. Okay, so next is we'll see with this particular thing called average. So generally when I talk about the average is nothing but you want to calculate an arithmetic mean. Okay, you want to find the mean, we use the average. Okay, so generally when I have to talk this particular average, so how will you calculate the average? So average is nothing but it is going to be the mean of it. So I just say is equal to average. And then if I select this particular range of data, so this will tell me what is the average salary of the employees. So that means we actually have around 20 employees. So it is going to do the sum of all this particular 20, and then it is going to divide by the number of employees, the head count. Fine. So you got this particular thing as an average. So that means generally when you divide this number, divide this total with 20, I think you will be getting the same thing, 5728445. So fine. This is, it is giving you the average value. Now let us take an example. We have some employees says absent or null. Okay, so when I give like this, see what happens
अभी आ
is,
रहा आवाज.
okay, now what happens is I have given as absent here. I have just given some kind of
फिर गया.
a
ये अजीब मुसीबत हो गया. आवाज आ रहा बीच में नहीं आ रहा.
I'll record it. I can just take it from the record. So now
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so I have given this kind of thing here called as absent. So that means there is no numbers. It is a character data is what is there. So now what I want to do is, okay, see when I try to find this particular average, now 1 lakh is the total salary, 1,08,000. So we have 20 employees. So but you can see the average is showing as 60,000. So what is happening here is it is not dividing with what do you say 20. It is actually dividing by only sorry, it is dividing by 18. It is not dividing by 20. It is dividing by 20. You are supposed to get this. Okay. So now if I want to get this value, so that means I want to consider this absent value also as a number. I want to consider that as a 0, and then I want to, that means that is also an employee, and then I want to calculate. Okay, so in that case we have something called as a average A. Okay, what average A function will do is it finds the arithmetic mean of the complete data. So that means when I use the average, it'll find the arithmetic mean of only the numerical data. So that means out of this data, these two are not having any numbers. So that means it is finding the average considering as 18 employees. But I want to consider if they're absent, still they are employees. I want to consider average should be divided with this particular head count also.
20.
In that case, we use this particular average A. Okay. Yesterday's function I have seen, we have shown you with count A, count blanks, count F, and count F. So you get more easy to understand this. Fine. So now, okay, that is how we find the average and average A. Now the same way you want to find this particular averaging based on a condition. Like say example, I want to know what is the average salary of male employees or female employees. So we use this particular thing, average F. Okay, and then so we use a range, the range on which you want to find the average. So now I want to find the average based on the gender. I just say it as gender. Then you say what is the gender? I'm looking for this gender, the value of J26, comma, I'm finding the average of net salary. So this will tell me what is the average salary of the male employees. If I change this, what is the average salary of the female employees?
Female employees.
Fine. Okay. Sorry. Now the same way, I want to find the averaging based on multiple criteria, multiple conditions. So in that case, we have this thing here called as average ifs. Okay. In this, so averaging range will be the first parameter. That is my net salary. Okay. Comma criteria range. My criteria range say gender matching to this. And then I say grade matching to this. Then yeah.
Sir, you said gender and J26. J26 in the sense?
This one.
This line.
This.
Okay.
Sorry.
Got it.
Sorry. This and this is J27.
Got it.
So based on two criteria. So like this, you can give so almost till 127 different criteria. Say job. So I'm looking for a job here. So come on. I'm looking for okay, comma. The third criteria is I'm looking for a job. Comma. The third criteria is I'm looking for the job, and I say job matching to this trainer.
J28.
Yeah, J28. Exactly. So it will find based on this. Clear? समझ गए ना? Okay. So this is how it is. So here what is actually happening is, so we are trying to do this particular summing or averaging based on a criteria. Okay. So we have sum, which generally does a total sum of the numerical values. Sum if is like, you want to sum based on a certain given condition. And then we have a sum ifs. So mainly sum ifs is like, you want to check with multiple criteria. So the here is the summing range is the first parameters. The same is your average. So average will find the average of the values, but if there is a non-numerical value, so in that case, so average will not consider that as a head count. Okay, so that means it is not considering as 20 employees, it is considering as only 18 employees, and it is giving. So now I want to consider, okay, even if it is non-numeric value, I want to consider that as also an head count, and then you want to calculate. So we have this thing called as average A. Fine. And then, so we have average if is like, you want to find this particular averaging based on a certain given condition. So again, the range criteria and the averaging range. Same way, we do also have an average ifs. Ifs is for multiple criteria. So first parameter is going to be the averaging range. Then will be the pairs of values where we can specify the criteria range, criteria range, criteria, and so on. Okay. So that is how we do this particular average ifs. So totally, like when you consolidate as last class and this class, so we have seen about the different types of count function, count A, count. There was a separate count function. So there was a count A. Count will count only the numerical values. Count A will count the cell which contains any data. So it can be numbers or text or any data, except the blanks. So count blanks will count only the blank values. Count if will count this, the cells based on the criteria. So you want to count the cells based on multiple criteria, we use a count ifs. Okay. The same way we went ahead with today we saw with the summing. So sum will do a summing of the numerical values. So sum if is like, you want to sum based on a condition. So sum ifs is like, want to do the summing based on multiple criteria, multiple conditions. The same way is your average. Okay. So we have average, average A, okay,
average ifs
and average ifs. Okay. So we'll stop here.
Fine.
Okay. So network issue भी है ना?
हाँ थोड़ा.
शेयर करता हूँ.
हाँ ठीक है.